I'm very pleased to give you an overview on our experience of how to drive digitalization in banking. We did a lot in the last 2 years in Asia, especially on the wealth management, private banking, but also we started now very heavily in Switzerland, which then actually also comprise the retail banking and the corporate and institutional banking as well. And out of the last years, there are 3 key challenges I believe we need to tackle as a bank if you want to be successful in a digital world. There's a huge technology challenge, there's a huge experience challenge, and there's a even bigger people challenge, because at the very end, digital, it's all about people. So driving the digitalization in banking has been a really big thing for Credit Suisse, and I want to share you my experiences with it. Firstly, and coming back a little bit to the question before, does digital really has an impact on banking? Now, number one, it had an impact on many other industries, be it on education, be it on media, be it on travel, transportation, telecommunication, and it will affect financial services, be it private banking, retail, asset management, or other ones. And the pure fact is also that it's not only a topic for young people. My children educate my parent how to use Skype and WhatsApp every day. They're getting really fit on these new technologies, and they get accustomed to it. So it's a theme that actually driving not only the next generation, it's coming now slowly also to the older generation, which is then very relevant for private banking, wealth management too. And this is how it looks, how Credit Suisse is under attack from all these digital startups, new ventures, attackers, and new companies. Every single element of our value chain is actually now offered by a new company purely focusing on this digital, in a digital world, on this element on the value chain. It's referred to the death by 1,000 cuts. So if we don't address it, we are in serious problems, because our comprehensive offering will be then split over and over into separate offerings of individuals, more nimble players. So for us, it's something we cannot simply ignore. We need to address it. And I think the 3 things we want to address it is technology, experience, and people. So looking at the technology we have today in place, and that's the case for most, at least, big banks, historically we have complex legacy systems grown over 2-3 decades, which are now very high cost and very difficult to change. So the problem is that you're facing actually not a nimble, slim technology which allows you to address the ever more fast-changing requirements of clients in the required time frame. The second huge problem we face is too much paper, too much manual processes, manual work. There's too less automation in today's processes, which then means actually you have a poor agility. And lastly, the data sources are not actually comprised and comprehensive in one place. Typically, you had systems for clients, like an online banking. You had a different system for the ARMs, a different system for the call centers. So the data was never actually at one stage available to everyone of each channel. And that leads then to a non-satisfaction of the client when he actually interacts with multi-channel in his daily work with the bank. So we really need to build a new platform, be it on top of the existing one, which allows that new digital experience in a multi-channel manner. Yes, the relationship manager will always be there, but what we try to do is to enrich and empower him with digital capabilities around him to do an even better job to serve the client and in a more immediate manner. So that's something which we address heavily, and I think the industry needs to address it heavily, how to make an architecture which is made for the digital age. The second big element that needs to be addressed is experience. In the past, you had typically product people who thought they have a fantastic product and they wanted to sell it and push it out to the market. These times are pretty much over. customers expect that you don't only have a great product and performance matters, but even more that it's associated with a great experience. In the past, a lot of the experience was built, even in online banking, made from this bank internal people who thought that's what the client wants. But actually the world has changed so much, and the experience clients get from WhatsApp, from Skype, from Facebook, from the travel Expedia or whatever, that they want a similar experience in banking, which is much more interactive, much more personalized. So if you have Netflix, you only see what you're interested. You don't get all the information dumped on you which have no relevance for you. That's what they expect. They want it playful, they want it engaging, and they want it exciting. That's what driving them to switch from one product to another one, or switching from one bank to another one. And that's a big mindset shift, actually, that you truly don't look at your internal capabilities, your internal product, but come from the client side and work backwards into the bank. That has often been said to be customer-centric, but actually it has never been fully lived, unfortunately. But now you have no chance anymore if you don't do it and wholeheartedly. The third element, and probably the most important one and less talked about, if you talk about digitalization, is really the people. You need new people, new skills in the organization to actually make that change happen. You need data scientists, you need social media experts, you need designers, which you then need to mix up with existing skills of the bank. And that's not easy, because that's really two cultures which are actually meeting each other. And it's so hard for the existing ones, as said, to take the message, the party is over. There was a lot of comfort of the existing people that this was good. And change is always hard and not easy to actually do. So there's a lot of change and open mind that is required within the existing skills and employees. And the same, it means that the new skills, they actually adjust a bit to the banking environment, because that's also very important. Otherwise, they stay an isolated element which is not working. So to provide the right incentives, actually, that these two match together is a very complex and difficult work. Build the right culture requires a lot of leadership, and it really requires leading by example from the top management and driving that change throughout the organization consistently. Changing human behavior on a consistent basis is really a big skill set if you get that done. So for us, driving digitalization in banking is really addressing the technology challenge by making an up-to-date technology which is responsive, which is especially very open. Typically, banks have isolated themselves from the outside world. In a digital world, you need to be very open. So that's a really paradigm shift, also on the technology side. The second is the superior experience. The best product will not be sufficient, actually, to succeed. It's building an experience which is integrated into the life of the client is getting so much importance. And that is not easy, actually, to create and to be designed, but that's very relevant. And the last one is to successfully change the processes, the people, the behaviors they have day in, day out, moving more to a very responsive, a very transparent, and very fast digital world, which will be surrounded by all of us, even if the human element in that service model will still exist. With that, I'm open for a lot of questions.
Mr. Abele, thank you. I especially liked when you said that digitalization is about people.
Yes.
It needs new people. Two questions. Where do you find these people, and what do you do with the old people in your organization?
So that's really interesting. I thought it's getting very difficult to find these new skill sets and make them interesting for banking. But the amazing thing is that actually they see that something big goes on in banking, so they love to shape that. So getting access to data scientists, number one in Switzerland, we have the ETH, we have Lausanne, we have a lot of good schools actually who provide this talent, but also internationally, you get access to these talents. Being also on the user experience side, these designers, they really feel they can make a difference in designing something new and better for our clients, hence they're really excited. So that was a positive surprise, you get them, but what is important is, again, the culture. If you cannot offer them an environment which they really want to work for, they will not join you. And that means that you have created an openness of your existing employees to embrace it. Now, one important element which I think helped us to open up our employees for digital is we never said they're out of the game. So for us, digital was never purely digital, meaning no human anymore. It was the opposite. We always said the relationship manager stays at the center of our offering. It's just surrounded by digital capabilities, and hence I think that was an important factor.
Are there any questions about the digital private banking initiative who has been promoted very widely? It's interesting that this initiative has been, as you mentioned, launched in Asia.
Yes.
This is probably also something special that also shows the shifts of innovation, maybe from the west to the east, or can you elaborate a little bit on
so in principle you have in Asia a population which is really ahead in digital. So you have everywhere, if you go in Singapore, Hong Kong, into a restaurant, doesn't matter if you're 20 or 70, everybody has the mobile, and they communicate even through mobile if they sit opposite on the table. So we had a great chance to learn what it means going, forward on digital. So the market is really ready there. And the second most important element was the market is growing. So we could easily get a scale in the learning and didn't need, let's say, to make enormous efforts to get clients onto that new platform to learn. Because that's something really important, which I didn't mention. Learning and not thinking you have the perfect thing from the very start is an extremely important element for the people. And that's also a very big mind shift. In the past, you tried to make the perfect product. It needed 3 years to launch, and that was already then the market was gone. So we launched after 4 months a product in the market and learned and iterated and changed it every second month. And that's also a big change in the way we approach it, yes.
I see there are questions here in the middle. The microphone is coming.
Mr. Abele, thank you very much for elaborating on that point. Where are you standing in Asia? Could you elaborate on that a little bit further? And what is the next steps in Switzerland?
So in Asia, what we did is we built a complete new platform for both the clients and the relationship manager. Actually, it's one platform, as I mentioned before, avoiding siloed data sources. So whatever the relationship manager sees, the client sees as well. So they can actually exchange information and recommendations and chat on that new platform. So that's complete. We roll it out in Singapore and Hong Kong. And we have launched it in some cross-border markets like Indonesia, Malaysia, and so on. So actually, it's spreading across all the markets in this year. And in Switzerland, we will launch this year for the relationship manager, that new platform, on the big Swiss platform. And we also look, obviously, like I mentioned before, for the other segments to create new client offerings, like on the corporate side and on the retail side, which will be more differentiating than only on the private banking side. So Switzerland is launching this year. We were ahead in times of technology here in Switzerland, online banking since 15 years. So we had something in Asia that was little to nothing. So there was more urgency to do that as well.
There is another question on the right side here.
As the supplier to you in the banking side, what do you see in digital on the digital side for the supplier, for the asset manager who delivers a product which you then use for your clients? Is the revolution
huge opportunities. The new world will be, and I try to show it with that example of how the value chain is under attack. We cannot do everything ourselves anymore. So we need to be more open. To plug in players, asset managers, other offerings outside and making an integrated experience is one of the key elements going forward. Meaning, actually, you would have a lot more opportunities to embed other players into, or suppliers today, into our offering more meaningfully. It is also something that, for example, I discussed with our colleagues from the asset management. A client who wants a discretion mandate not necessarily don't want any contact from the bank. He just delegate the asset management to the bank, but he would still like to understand what's happening there, getting notifications, getting to know what's going on his portfolio. So the interaction will change dramatically, and actually bringing cutting-edge player on this new platform and open like an ecosystem will be one of the key thrusts going forward.
Is there another question around? Otherwise, I have another question.
Yes.
We still have time. I'm
Good.
very happy. We are still in the time frame. You mentioned also other disrupting businesses like Netflix, for example, or we have Airbnb and things like that. I'm always asking myself, is banking really something similar or comparable that we can really break into new business model? Is finance and banking not something much more special?
Well, I always compare it with health. Health and wealth is our two very important elements where also the people aspect plays a big role. But health industry is also pretty much actually transformed in it. So I don't like the term disruption. I think is some of the unword of the the latest years. Fact is, we had online banking since 15, 20 years. So it always was there. But what happens now is basically that the integration into an ecosystem is the big change. That's going to happen. That will take years. It will not be tomorrow. It will not happen in the next 2 years, a dramatic change, but it will swap at a certain time frame. And I estimate in 4 or 5 years, we're going to see a really bigger change to the industry than it's now. But that's why it's so important to get ready and get prepared for that time when it's coming and test and learn a lot along the ways. So it's a bit too early, in my opinion, to talk about the big disruption in banking. It will happen down the lane, be smoother than in other industries, and maybe less visible. That's why it's maybe more dangerous, but it will happen.
Okay, it's fascinating and thrilling, and let's talk in a few years again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.